Hello friends, welcome back to the video series on Oracle PL SQL programming. As already we have discussed how to execute the PL SQL block in the previous video. In this video we would discuss on the conditional statements for PL SQL and how to use in PL SQL. Previously, when we were executing the block of PL SQL, it was executed line by line. But if we want to execute only some of the line when some condition is true only, we use the conditional statements. Set of statements are executed only when given condition is true. Multiple conditions can be passed. We can use the comparison operators for the conditions, and logical operators or functions which return Boolean value can also be used as conditions. Now, the types of conditional statements. If then end if then else end if then else if end if, and the case. Let us check all these types with SQL Plus in the practical way. So, open the SQL Plus. First, we have to log in to the Oracle database, and for that the username is system and the password is password throughout the video series, as you know. So now we are connected to the Oracle database. Let us first check the records present in the employee table, and for that we are typing select empid, comma, first name, comma, salary, comma, and DPT ID from employee, that particular table. So there are 31 rows selected. Here we would work on the employee, suppose 112 at first, as it has department ID 20, and then we would work on 113, which has the department ID 30. So let's start the block, but before start we have to type set server output on. As you know, that statement is very necessary to get the output from the block. So press enter, and for better view at first clear the screen. Now type declare, that means we are declaring the variables, then dpt id and the type suppose number, semicolon, then providing another variable, suppose name as sal, and the type is number and with 10, 2, semicolon, press enter. Now the begin. Select salary, comma, dpt id into sal, comma, dpt id from employee, where empid should be 112. Then output as dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and here we are providing the variable cell, then we are using the piping, double piping sign, then suppose a colon sign, and then another double pipe, and now DEPT ID, end of parenthesis, semicolon. Now we are providing the if condition. If DEPT ID is equal to 30, then we are assigning cell, that variable, with, look at the assignment, colon, then the assignment operator or the equal sign, then cell plus 100, semicolon, then the end if, and finally a semicolon here, and then another output, and we are writing dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and here cell, the same double colon, sorry, double piping sign, and then the colon, then double piping, and the same DEPT ID variable, semicolon, and now we are ending the block here. So let's check what is the output here. As you can see, the first one was the output for 13987, and the department ID is the 20. Then 13987 and the department ID once again 20. That is for the second output, and the first one was for that output. So what is happening here? Now, as the department ID here is not 30, practically we have given when the department ID is equal to 30, then salary should be salary plus 100. As the department ID here is not 30, so no change in the salary, that is the 100 is not added to the value. Now let us check for another employee ID, that is 113, who belongs to the department ID 30. So for that we are changing the complete code, and here we are providing the employee ID as 113, and save the file and exit and execute. Now you can check the first one, that is the output for the salary and department ID for the employee ID 113. But as here, that is the salary is now 20,100, as it is the department ID 30. So here the salary 100 more has been added, and the output is now 20,100. Thus, that is the condition is satisfied here. So 100 has been added. So that is how simply we can use the if condition in the PL SQL block. Let us now check the if else also, and here we should work on the 113 employee ID. So once again ed, and here we are changing the if condition. Suppose here we are writing if employee ID or EMP ID is equal to 20, then salary should be salary plus 100. Else we are providing cell colon equal sign, and that is salary plus 200 and end if. So now we are ending the block and save and exit. Let's check with the output after execution. The first one was the salary for the employee ID 113, that is 20,000. But the second one, after the execution of the block, that means if else block, then the salary is 20,200. As here, if condition department ID is equal to 20 is not satisfying, so else statement is executed and thus salary is added with more 200. That means that particular statement. Remember, as we have not updated any changes in the databases, so no change or commit would be there in the database. Now, if we want to pass the multiple statements, we may use the else if, such as check with the another block. And here the same, but here we are changing the if else block. If DPT ID is equal to 20, then sal is equal to sal plus 100. Now here we are changing, that is else, but only ELS. Else if then DPT ID is equal to suppose 30, then sal is equal to sal plus suppose 300. Now once again we are providing the else condition, and here we are providing sal is equal to sal plus suppose 200 and then ending. Let's save it and exit and execute. So here we can check 20,300. The first one is the salary for the employee ID 113 and the department ID is equal to 30. So as if department ID is equal to 20, this particular condition is not true, so 100 is not added. Else if department ID is equal to 30, here the condition is true, so the salary has been added 300 more. But as the statement has been executed, so there is no execution of the else part. Now, if we want to update the record in the database, also we must add another statement in the block, that means the PL/SQL block. Remember, we can add many numbers of else if block in the if-else-if-else statement blocks. So, ed, and here we are adding the statement for the update in the database, and the statement is update the table, that is employee, then set salary is equal to the variable value cell where we have EMP is equal to 113. Just save it and exit and execute. So here the output, so here the database has been updated. Let us check really the database has been updated or not. The first one output was 20,300. Once again we execute it and now you can check, that is 20,600. Suppose once again you can check and finally the output has been 20,900. So the updation is occurring in the database also. Let us now check with the case statements. Let us check with the month name in the year. user would provide the month number and respective month name would be provided. And for that, at first clear the screen for better view. So here we are declaring the first one variable as suppose num for the number, and also the data type is number here, and the size is 2, and here we are providing colon is equal to ampersand month. This ampersand is used for the user input and then the semicolon. Then another variable that is month, and also we are providing the data type as varchar 2 with the size 20, semicolon, press enter. Then begin, and here we are providing month colon is equal to the case, that particular statement or the part, that is case num, and here we are providing when 1, that means when the number or num variable is assigned as 1 or it is coming from the user, then it must be Jan. Then same as we are typing when 2, then suppose Feb, then when suppose 3, then we have March, that means Mar. Then when we have 4, then it is APR for April. When 5, then it is May. When 6, then June. When 7, then it is Sep for September. Sorry, that must be July. So that is June. Then when 8, then August, that is for AUG. When 9, then it must be Sep for September. When that is 10, then we are providing it with OCT, that means for October. When that is 11, we are providing NOV for November. And finally, when 12, then we are providing DEC for December. But another one statement, that is else, that means when the user input is other than from 1 to 12, so there should be another output, and that one is invalid month number, and end here, semicolon. Let's check the output also. So we have to type dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and here we are providing only the month, the variable name, and end. That is the final end of the block. That end is for the case, and that one end is for the PL/SQL block. So press enter and execute. So enter value for month. We are providing suppose 3, and here we are getting the output as March. Same as suppose another execution here, and that is like 13, and that is we are getting invalid month number because we have already written here MONT not MONTH. So that's why the output is invalid month or month number. So this is how we can use the conditional statements in Oracle PL SQL. And the conditional statements we use in Oracle PL SQL are if then end if then else end if then else if end if, and the final one is the case. In the next video, we should discuss on the loops in the PL SQL block.